You know, obviously Misery's childhood was when I was doing the poetry, the open mics, the rapping, and I did that for a while. And, you know, like people obviously thought it was a dark name, you know, but generally you know, when I say Misery, the idea always came from the fact that I found out that obviously I couldn't have kids, you know, and the doctor told me, I found out pretty early in my life, you know, that I couldn't.
How old was you when you found out?
In my 20s, early 20s, you know, and I basically, the problem when learning that is that, you know, like you enter a relationship with a woman, you can't tell them that, you know, that pretty much deads the relationship right there and then. So I had to be smart, and obviously I struggled with that, you know, and I felt that mixed in with other things that happened in my life, and obviously I felt like, I don't know, I felt like my name must have been company because Misery loved me, you know. Yeah. So I gave myself that name, and generally.
What is that feeling? Someone that doesn't know that feeling of being told something like that. What would you tell someone? How would you uplift someone? How would you motivate them?
Well, this is the thing, you know, like, I mean, you've got to, the thing is, the problem with that is that obviously, if you look at what defines a man, you know, like what makes a man, and that question is more relevant today than probably at any other time in our history, because the lines are so divided now, it's so blurry, so confusing. But what makes a man? And generally, we could say forget, you know, provider, protector, forget all that. But the quintessential thing of a man is to procreate, you know, like to, you know, bring on the seed into the female and be able to, so the female gives birth and so on. And so obviously when you can't do that, well, that's a big shot to what you perceive your manhood to be. Now you have to redefine yourself, because if you don't redefine yourself, well, then you're just a failure, and you can't live life as a failure. You know, so you have to find a way of recreating, somehow reinventing what it means to be a man.
So how did you go through it? How did you reinvent?
Through trial and error. Part of it was me going through the Misery's child, you know, and embracing the darkness that came with it, the anger and all of that stuff, which also, you know, like one night I was arrested for all this stuff, you know, like, and obviously that side of it wasn't a way, and I found that out through trial and error. And then Black Vikings was another way, you know, of me creating. Yes, yeah. Slowly, but very slowly. We're talking a period of maybe 2 decades, about 20, 25 years, you know, so slowly. But, you know, and I'm not saying it's finished. That Black Vikings is changing now, and that's the point. Life is organic. I am organic. It will change.
So Misery's Child, you also you was a poet as well.
Yeah.
I heard so much of your poetry. I remember the one that I heard. I think I came to an open mic venue, and it was Time Traveler.
Yeah.
And that was really good. And you know, you kind of your storytelling. It was. How do you? What's that process? Is that all from the heart? And you.
You know, like obviously, like I wasn't born or raised here, and I wasn't born or raised speaking English. You know, like there was another, you know, like I came here. And so when I came here in 1990, I didn't speak the language. Also, you know, like I have a complicated relationship. Well, I had a complicated relationship with my father. And, you know, so I was dealing with all of that, not being able to speak the language, and then issues within my mum's family. So just a lot of stuff. And I just found the one thing that I like to do more than anything was, like with my sister, we would draw, you know? Yeah. And when I say we would draw because we didn't have toys, you know? When we came here, we had nothing. Yeah. Like we had a mattress on the floor, a TV on the floor, and then we were robbed and they took that. Yeah. You know, so literally we had nothing. And what we would do, we would draw on pieces of paper, and then we'll get scissors, we'll cut the figurines out, and then we'll play with those, you know? And so like when, and so paper just kind of like became my thing. We were either drawing or like games. We will play games where we will, And then naturally I just started writing. Initially it was in Italian and just stories. And then eventually, as I learned English, they became in English. And generally, to be honest, it was a way, to escape. You write a story and you can travel with it. You do a drawing and, you travel with that wherever that thought takes you. So, yeah.
So I'm going to move on to the actual tape that I heard once you let everything out. I wouldn't call it a mixtape, but you spoke about your family matters. You spoke about friends that were close to me, and you just ripped through it, if that's the right word. You just went through it. What was your mind frame?
Basically, it all stems from one woman, basically, like most things do in my life, anyway.
Heartbreak.
Yeah. Like, to be honest, bro, women are the key instigator to anything I do in my life. Like anything negative, like this thing that I created. This, I think the track was called 300 Bars and Gunning, and basically it was just me rapping, rhyming continuously for 20 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yes.
Non-stop. And I did that in one take, recorded that in Fortress Studio, and I was
nothing written, or it was written and you had your...
No, it was written, but basically it was all memorized. I went in there into the studio, and I didn't have pieces of paper. Basically, it was just all in my head, and it all came out, like literally regurgitated it.
Now talking about it and remembering it, do you would you say regret? Wouldn't use the word regret, but would you?
That's the thing, like part of me, I regret like things associated with it. For example, like I don't know if you remember the cover.
Yeah.
I regret that.
Sorry. That was crazy. Just now you remember. That's crazy. Yeah.
I regret that. Yeah. I regret the cover because I think I was angry. That's my problem. The problem is, like when I get angry, I'm a passionate person. When I love with all my heart. When I hate, I hate with all my heart. So like at the time, I just wanted to punish these people who I perceived, had done me wrong.
Your enemies or your
I perceived them. I perceived them as they attacked me. So it's only fair for me to retaliate, and I did. But although like I've realized now, looking back obviously after so many years, like I don't regret the way I did it, because to be honest, out of something like that they did, what I done, I retaliated in a creative way. Like I didn't, I didn't go and beat up anyone. I didn't stab anyone. I reacted in a creative way. But what I do regret is obviously that cover, which I think impacted her life, in a bad way. And that I regret. And I've explained to her since then anyway.
Was you able to speak to them? Was you able to
I cleared it up with her,
with
the one who instigated everything. I cleared it up with her and I explained, that I was sorry. But I was just hurt by what she done to me, but I acknowledged that wasn't the best way to react. But I mean, and the thing is, like when I was doing this, there were so many people in my corner telling me, this is not the best thing to do. Don't do this. But the thing is, I'm stubborn, man. like.
I mean, I think that's what mastery is, right? Like you're learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I think the point is like, and people would say, see, but being stubborn is a bad thing. And it is within this scenario. But I mean, being stubborn, also took me through the crucifixion march. Yeah. It took me through other, for 4 years, I trained outside in the cold, in the snow, rain, whatever weather.
Let's talk about it. That's, you're talking about Black Vikings.
Yes, no, Black Viking.
Yeah. So how did that start? How did you?
It was, like. So off the back of obviously all of the 300 bars and gunning, then after that I was homeless for a while, and that kind of it was messed up and everything. Then eventually, what did I do? I got a flat. That was around 2011. Got myself a flat, and I just kind of it was just basic, but I had my books, and I started just training equipment, training at home. And then a woman came into my life, another woman. And I don't know, she just inspired me I wanted to get into fitness for a long time, and so basically anyway, she paid for me to go and do the course, which I couldn't have done because I just didn't have the money. And so she paid for it. I got the certificate, and I started working in a gym for free, for about 6 months for free, absolutely.
Let's go there as well. Let's talk about the hardship that you went through. That piece where no electricity, no home. Let's talk about it, because I don't think people understand the mind frame of being in that situation. How would you explain? How would you tell someone how to overcome it?
Look, I've always said there's that human beings in general, can put up with anything, can put up with all manner of suffering, you only need to look through history, wherever country, whatever land, they can put up with amazing amount of suffering. But what they can't stomach, not even for a second, is to suffer without meaning, with no meaning attached to it. That is unbearable for anyone, and generally when people get to that point, that's when you hear suicide, alcoholism, and all these things, because you can't. There has to be some kind of meaning, behind it, attached. So if you're suffering through life, and most people are, because life is suffering, and that's not a bad thing, but life is suffering. And if you don't want to suffer, then you shouldn't be alive, because you're going to suffer at one point. So the only choice really is to attach meaning to it. So the question is not to avoid suffering. The question is to find meaning. And meaning is, what is your meaning, your purpose to get up in the morning, and go and do whatever you do. Some people is their children, and that's fine, because I guarantee you that person who has this child will do whatever in their power, and with a smile on his face for that child, because that's the meaning. But if you don't have that, and I can't have children, so what do? You have to create your own, because in life really there is no meaning. There is no meaning in life other than the one that you create for yourself. Meaning for my mum and my mum's generation, it was God. So but arguably,
what's the meaning of life for you? What is the meaning?
For me, literally, to be honest, for now, my meaning has been the sagas. The 7 sagas, pursuing them. It's to just to see them through and to conquer, through struggle, to just
those 7 sagas.
Yeah.
If you can tell us the first saga, what was the first saga?
The first saga is the Death March.
Yes.
Each saga consists of 3 attempts. The first saga was the Death March, which started on Christmas Day.
Was that a 60 kg?
Well, it started with a sandbag. So it started with a sandbag 3 years ago on Christmas Day at 8 a.m. with a 40-kilo sandbag. Then the following Christmas, it became a 60-kilo sandbag. Yeah. And then Easter on Good Friday, the following Easter, it became the crucifix, 60-kilo. Yeah. And the whole point of 3 attempts is it's a discovery that I made when I was doing my cold baths. Yeah. So when I was doing my cold baths, I noticed that I would fill the water, to the brim, Yeah. But I would rarely, in the beginning, just step in. What I would do is dip my toe, splash some water, and then finally I would go in. So almost like I'm easing myself into it. And that's the point. Human beings crave security and comfort, but nothing comes from security and comfort. So I said, okay, so if the first one I'm cautious, and the second one I'm a little more brave, and then the third one I go all out, well then every saga must be done 3 times to ease me into the point where, almost where the body has not yet broken, but the mind, is growing. Yeah. But it's a very fine line.
I mean, when I asked you to print your name on the actual canvas. You know, you told me your arm wasn't helping you. So in some sense, you've almost broken yourself, but you're still withstanding the pain. So so what happened there? How did that happen? How did you get into that position? From carrying the 60 kg, and you're carrying it for what? Is it 7 hours? 7 hours you carried it for?
9 hours 46 minutes.
9 hours 46 minutes. I mean that's madness. That's just that people say that to you as well. People say to you that's crazy, and that gives you a sense of motivation.
No, okay, it's gonna sound weird, but what I do or what I've done, and what it may seem, it's not really amazing.
Yeah.
It's not amazing.
Yeah.
Me doing something like this seems like an exceptional task.
Yeah.
But I mean, had I done this, I don't know, like 600 years ago, 400 years ago, it wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But so it's, I think it speaks more about the state of the world and humanity than it does about me, but yeah, it's, but yeah, the whole point with the crucifixion was I also wanted to raise money for Legion Wrestling Club, which is where I teach, which is where I used to wrestle, which is my home, which is my brother's there, and I wanted to raise money for the refurbishment.
And was he able to raise that money?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I raised not as much as I would have liked, but I mean, we've refurbished it. It's not finished yet, but it's slowly, it's getting there.
So what do we do? How do we help you get to your goal? Is there's more sagas that you're doing that's also raising money for the
to be honest, I'm doing at the moment, so I've done, I mean, you got to understand that all these 7 sagas, it is very unlikely that I will live long enough to finish them all. It's probably, I mean, the whole point of them was to be that. It was to create something so ridiculous that I would spend the rest of my time. It would take my focus, so meaning I can go to work, earn money, but then, the whole point of earning money is so that I come back to this. And if I'd made it too easy, I might have achieved it too quickly. And then what would I do? So the whole point was to give me something that could occupy me, my body, my spirit, my mind, for as long as possible. So these sagas I might never finish. And if I do, I don't know, I might be a very old man. But
so how many sagas are left now?
Well, I've done the Death March, I've done the Boneless, and I've done 1 attempt. I've got 2 attempts left.
You've got the boxing one to do as well.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
Then I've got the raid. Yeah. The raid is finished.
Okay, what was the raid?
The raid was basically me and a bunch of people. And I calculated the distance from London to Greenland in meters, which is about 5 million something meters. Yeah. And I said, okay, every day we're going to row, or as often as we can, we're going to row until we hit that distance, until we get from London to Greenland. And it took about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But we did it. And then at the end, and obviously the group was big in the beginning.
Is that the movement? Is that group still? Are they the Black Vikings? Is that the movement?
No, I mean, some people. Everyone is a fan. If I had to speak to you, if I had to say who is a Black Viking, I don't know if there are any. To be honest, my point is, I've always said that there are no Black Vikings now, not even me. Because only when somebody can finish all the sagas, or at least is in the pursuit of all these sagas, as that's my goal, then yes, that is a Black Viking. So my reasoning was always that I'm not doing this for the people now, people follow me on Instagram now, or people that see me in the street. I'm not doing it for that. It's posterity, almost like these people might come, they're not here now, but maybe, I don't know, 10 years after my death, 5 years after my death, somebody might look to that, get inspired, think, okay, you know what? I'm going to build on this. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to develop it in his own way. It's fine. I don't need it to remain under the whole point. I need just I feel like it's a fight for humanity. You know, it's to keep, you know, like it's about physical betterment and mental freedom, and that's what Black Vikings stand for. You know, so meaning being strong but being mentally free. And I don't think people understand what mentally free really means.
I agree. I think it's we're in a position where
We are
we're
not
enslaved.
mentally
Yeah,
free here.
we
We
are
are not.
in a way enslaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I'm not here speaking to you like, oh, you're all enslaved and I'm mentally free. I am enslaved too.
Yeah.
The only difference is I'm very aware
Yeah.
of my enslavement, you know, and every day, you know, and I do stuff, and you know, like I have to be honest. I'm very aware also that I'm a hypocrite, you know. I am, because there's stuff, you know, like there's part of me, almost like I have a battle inside me. This duality, these two opposite beings, which is one is like this wise, you know, all-knowing, just very disciplined, focused warrior, you know, who's just, and then there's another side of me who's just I don't know, just craves things, you know, and desires things, and no matter how much I try, they just order, and one might win for a little bit, but then the one comes back, and that's essentially what it is, a seesaw going up and down of these things. But
so to people that are watching and don't understand what the Black Viking is, how would you captivate that? How do you tell them? Because it sounds like it sounds complex, because you're saying you can't be a Black Viking yourself because you haven't reached these goals, you haven't reached these sagas.
The thing is, you know, okay, the point of the sagas, like I said before, is to give you structure and meaning. If your structure and your aim and your meaning is not the sagas, that means it's something else. Yeah. Okay, now if it's something else, that's fine, but let's examine what else is it. Because trust me, everybody in this whole world, everybody, whether they have a child or not, whatever, everybody has their rudder, you know, like almost something that is driving their boat. So you have to ascertain what is it. Yeah. Once you understand what it is, then, for example, some people, believe it or not, some people it's money. Yeah. It's just, I want to get as much money as possible. That's their goal. Yeah. Some people it's just, you know what, I want pleasure. I just want to have fun, party, travel, you know, have relations, you know, just, and that's fine. That's what it is. And I'm not here to say that any of these people are wrong, because like I said before, there is no meaning to life other than the one that you create for yourself. Yeah. So meaning, yes, these people, if that's what they believe, then that is the meaning of their life. Yeah. But the point is, if you want to be a Black Viking, well, then you have to cease and desist from those, and it's the pursuit of the sagas. The sagas will be your rudder.
Mastery. We are able to learn from others, their rules, and how they conquered their art or struggles. Books. We talk about books that could be life-changing or heighten knowledge. That is, if life teachings, experiences don't lead you to that knowledge. The Black Viking gives us his books of knowledge.
Showing you about the world, you know, like there's a, like even now, that's why The Prince is an amazing book, because it's relevant as much today as it was when it was written, you know. But the point is, you know, like when you grow up, when you're a child, and your parents, your teachers, the world in general, feeds you this vision of the world, which is bullshit. Yeah. It's not real. You know, meaning, you know, they tell you fairy tales, oh, don't lie, you know, all this stuff that they themselves break in the real world. So you're fed all these bullshit things, and then when you come of age, the world is just like, all right, now, this is, forget everything you learned as a kid, this is the actual world, adapt, you know? So I think that's, and the thing is, and I think that's what Machiavelli did with it, you know, what he really did was said, I'm not here to tell you how the world should be, I'm here to tell you this is how the world is, and this is how you function within it. Meaning, yes, people are capable of all the goodness and everything, but people are also spiteful, power hungry, greedy, and this is what they're also capable of doing. So, and I think you have to accept both. Whereas prior to Machiavelli, we just assumed that yes, man is good, all this, but no, man is like a being at war inside himself. There's a war, between good forces, the devil, and an angels and God, and so yeah, that's why I love that book, because it showed me a different world at a time when, I would say I was coming out of childhood things, and then I was like, and then all of a sudden you realize, and this, you look at the world and you're like, something's not quite right. And then this man comes along who's lived 500-600 years before you and tells you this is why. This is how actually the world is. And it's an amazing book. Nietzsche. So Nietzsche. The Antichrist. And it's not through, like, as soon as I say that, people always like, oh my God. I'm like, forget that. But the point is, he made some amazing, beautiful arguments in there. But the one that always stuck in my head, was like, this is especially within the Eritrean community, is not going to be, I accept that it's not going to be received well, but I don't really give a shit. So I'm going to just speak. But generally he says, okay, let's examine someone like Jesus Christ, okay? Now, if you examine what Jesus, how he's been, I'm not going to say Jesus himself because nobody really knew if he existed, and if he did, if he was actually, let's say what the church has portrayed him as, okay? So we're looking at a human being which is basically devoid of any sexual energy. He's a man, let's not forget. You may say, but he's God, he's the Son of God. He's the Son of God, fine. But while he was on earth, in skin and bones, he was a man. And this was a man who was devoid of man, of sexual urges. He had no rage, he had no sexual desire, he had no, you take somebody like that and you put him in the world today and you examine him, what would we say about this person? He would be in a mental institution. And that's what Nietzsche was saying, is that these are not, it is not normal. And I'm not saying that Jesus should be, I'm saying that the church, the image that they've portrayed, I don't think that is the image, if this man existed, of him himself. Meaning, So, but it's an amazing book. Everyone should read it. And there's a few.
Yeah, you said the Prophet as well.
By Nietzsche, there's a few. There's also the genealogy of morality, which is a good book. But the other book I said, Kahil Gibran, which is the Prophet. Yeah, I loved it. I love that book. I read it. That was the book, probably the first book that I've read of the three. And to be honest, it's just, one is so poetic, and it just, it taught me a lot. When I say taught me, I'm not going to say like I learned. I took the lessons on board, but I was never able to put them to practice, and that doesn't say anything. It's more about me than that. But it's lessons that I've learned that I always strive for, and it's, so for example, one main lesson is not to look at love like a possession, which unfortunately society tells you love is a possession, meaning my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my wife, my kids, my this, and everything is about possessing. Whereas, but if you read the Prophet, it's, there's one analogy where he speaks about, your children are not your own, He says, you literally goes, they come from you, but they don't belong to you, And he goes, they're merely like an arrow, and your body is like the bow, shooting the arrow forth into the heavens, into the future, But you can't tell them, you can't direct them no more than you could direct the arrow. You may point it in a certain direction, but after it escapes your hand and the wind blows it, whatever, it can go wherever it desires, And so I like to, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. But also, I mean, there's other books by him, but that one was probably, the one that really caught me. I've read it so many times. I've gifted it to people, ex-girlfriends, always, beautiful.
Okay, let's go back into the sagas.
Yeah.
I know it's moving back in and out, but let's move back into the sagas. So you've done 3 sagas, if I'm correct.
I've done the Death March, 1 attempt of the Boneless, the Raid, the Long Saga. I've done 1 attempt, 5 days.
That's in Scotland, right?
Yeah. So I came back. I did 5 days fasting. The next one is should be in April, and it's 2 weeks.
Okay. So one's coming up in April.
Yeah, okay. And that's Scotland.
How are you preparing for that? What's the preparation?
Well, to be honest, at the moment, really, unfortunately, like the world doesn't really care that I'm on this mission, of the saga. So I have to do that, but I also have to function within this world,
Society,
So at the moment, I'm trying to balance things that I have to do on this society with that. So in terms of preparation, really, it's I need to buy some stuff. Like I need to get a tent because the old one was damaged by the winds. Like in Scotland in the winter, it was terrible. But yeah, generally equipment-wise, I have everything. I've spent 5 days there before, so I know.
So what's it about? What are you doing there?
The whole point of the Long Saga is to be alone. And I've tried to explain to people that every saga is not just I just thought of some sagas. Every saga was designed. All the 7 sagas was designed to address what I felt was a certain weakness within me. Okay, so for example, like the Raid, which was lasted a year and a half, was to address what I felt I had, which was a lack of commitment. I was unable to commit things and see them through. I would start, burn out and then fade away. I was like, no. Create a ridiculous goal and then just focus on it. No matter how ridiculous and impossible it seems, just don't worry about the end product. Just work every single day. All you need to do is like now I walk everywhere. And I mean, generally, like when I walk to my wrestling club, and it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours walk to get there, 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours to get back.
People don't understand.
If I think about here to there, it's such a long journey. Even when I was carrying that thing, the crucifix, if I think of going 7.2 miles with this thing, barefoot, bare-chested, with this thing, 60 kilo thing on my back for 7.2 miles, like it's gonna break me.
But
what you do, you focus one step, just focusing. So what I would do as I was walking the crucifix, I would focus on a pole, just there. Okay, let me get to the pole. I'll go to the pole. Okay, now get to that lamp post. Okay, get to that lamp. Okay, now get to those gates. And that's it. So what you do, you instead of looking at the end product, you look at things in front of you. And life could be addressed like that. But the problem is with life, everyone lives for the future. Like everyone is almost like, and I kind of get it, success, like,
people give up too easy.
Yes, but also people just, like they set these goals and then they think, okay, I need to make money, I need to get this. And fine, I'm not blaming people for chasing money. That's not what I'm saying. But you want to chase money and you're like, that's my target, so I need to do this. But the problem is, because you've set this goal and it's in the future, you set this idea of you in the future with this ideal job, an ideal woman or ideal money. And the thing is, that moment does not yet exist, but you live there. Because every day your mind is there. Yeah. So that means if your mind is there, you're no longer living in the present. So the present passes you by. Yeah. And then the thing is, the future doesn't exist, so you don't live there. Yeah. You don't live in the present. Are you even alive? Yeah. Well, you're like in some weird, purgatory state where you don't really exist here, you're not really there. Yeah. But that's the point. And a lot of people live like that because society tells you to live like that. To always strive, oh, get that better job, get the better this. Oh, you're not happy now? Don't worry, it's because you haven't got enough money. But as soon as you get that promotion, you will be happier. So now you focus all your time to get that promotion. Then because you focus all that time, years have passed you by, you get that promotion. Guess what? You're not actually happy. Because happiness doesn't come from a promotion. It doesn't come from these things. Momentary happiness may come, a sense of achievement, but that quickly goes.
So achieving these goals, these sagas, is it making you happy? Are
No,
you happy?
but that's my point.
Yeah.
It's like, happiness doesn't last. I mean, if you show me a man who's been happy for a long period of time, and I will show you somebody that needs to be in a mental institution because it's not normal.
So what do you say to people that say that about you? If they say, "Oh, this guy is absolutely crazy,"
Yeah, but people do. People do. I'm like, you're probably right. You're probably right. My mom says it. I'm like, you're probably right. But that's my point. But the thing is, in my, and I should say, in my humble opinion, which nobody can critique. Because opinions, that's all they are. Everyone has an opinion, and no one opinion is more valid than another.
Yeah.
But in my humble opinion, I don't think you cannot base an existence on a temporary emotion, meaning happiness. Happiness doesn't last. If something doesn't last, you can't base your whole existence on something that doesn't last, because what happens when you don't feel happy? What have you failed somehow? Are you now in the wrong because you don't feel happy? Which is what people do, because people believe they need to feel happy all the time. So when they don't feel happy, it's like, my life is messed up. I must be doing something wrong. No, it's just happiness is beautiful because it's so fucking rare. You're not gonna feel it all the time. You might feel sad sometimes, and it's okay to feel sad. But the most important thing, which is how life should be really addressed, is meaning. What is your purpose? What is your rudder in that ocean of life? What is your rudder? What steers your ship? And if you don't have that, well, unfortunately, the system will give you its own, its own ideals, its own, and I guarantee you that's not always going to be good for you. So, for example, part of what the system has offered as a replacement is consumerism, to spend your life earning more money, spending more things, and buying things. And I've done it recently because I've had to, I'm working, I thought, let me dress well and stuff. It is a vacuous enterprise. It offers, it only feeds you for as long as, it's almost like drugs, the same thing. You get the high, you enjoy it, and then you come back down, and then you need another high. So you're always chasing. That shouldn't exist. That shouldn't be your meaning.
Is that also the reason why your social media account is the way it is?
Yeah, well, with the social media, for a while, I played the whole game, which is also a vacuous enterprise. Get more followers, build it up, create a community. And then, I don't know, man, I saw you coming out of hospital just changed everything, I just saw
you could have lost it there as well. You could have literally, not only your physical, but your mental health in hospital. You could have, what was that like?
I almost did. I mean, in the hospital it was tough because obviously, imagine, and I've always said that, I'm remembering now as I speak to you stuff that I've written before. But yeah, there was one part where I said, I built most of my meaning and existence on my physical strength, which is the mistake that a lot of people do, and the thing is that the reason it's a mistake is because that will go, everything goes. You have money, it will go. You have this, it will go. So, and I built my temple of existence on this temporary thing, which was me being fit, strong, in shape. And so all of a sudden I lost that. Not just lost it, that I became unfit, but lost it to the point that I'm not even a functioning human being. I can't move.
When did you learn this? When did you learn that you've lost this?
Well, when I was in the hospital and my mum and dad had to feed me, like the nurses had to wash me, the nurses had to wipe my bum. I mean, that's, you realize, oh my God. And then they tell you this could be, this could be you. Yeah. And they tell you as well, you should consider yourself lucky because really it should have affected your legs, but at least you're able to walk.
I think, three things. You were lucky because I suspect if you had a couple of millimeters more of the rupture, that just popped out just a little bit more, you would have ended up in a wheelchair. If we'd waited, and not, if we'd not done the operation, I mean, you presented late.
I almost didn't come then.
I know. I mean, that was a nightmare, and it's sorted now. And the fact that you're young and fit. If you were older and decrepit, then...
So I'm supposed to be thankful that only my arms can't move, and it was hard in that sense that, I built my whole meaning, everything was about that I was strong, I was pursuing the sagas, and all of a sudden now I'm with old people, in this ward, and I can't move, and I'm like, and my physique, like my arms. But you know what I'm saying? Like once you stop moving your arm, the muscle, when I tell you waist, like just bone, almost just bone, because I wasn't moving it, I couldn't move it. And I'm like...
What's the cognitive mind frame between your mind and your physical, your body? How do you train it? How did you train it? What is the feeling?
Well, to be honest, I was lucky in the sense that, I have words that I've always written, like I used to write before. And one thing that I've kept throughout my life is writing, So I've lost the ability for my body to communicate in training and stuff. But I just went down the avenue of just writing. I just started writing. I couldn't write by pen, but luckily this happened in the day of technology, so I could type, So I just started typing away. And I would just post my thoughts, on Instagram, and whatever I thought. And generally they're quite...
So anyway, technology kind of, I wouldn't say saved you, but gave you a way.
Well, it gave me a way to be able to communicate, which at the time was important for me. Because obviously, I don't know, I was just, I needed an outlet, for all these emotions. And so I started writing and stuff. And then obviously I came out of hospital, still physio, but still I was writing a lot. And even now I'm writing a lot, but now I'm able to do more. I can actually train. But then something weird happened where, I don't know, I just looked at Instagram and I just thought, I don't want to delete it because obviously like documented within it, it's like, God, 5-6 years of just the most amazing amount. Like sometimes I go back and I marvel at my own just stubbornness and just determination. I was like...
Is that what you call it? Is that what the whole... would you call that stubbornness? Or is it who you are?
I mean, to be honest, I've always been stubborn. And, when I want something, like I want it, I will have it one way or another, And like my mum and my friends have always remarked that it's a shame that you don't desire money. Because if you desired money, you'd be a billionaire. Because the thing is, anything, if I really want something, like when I tell you, like everything else fades away. I see nothing else. All I see is this thing, and I give everything, and I will sacrifice anything. Like,
but that's your how you are as well. If someone tells you, oh, you should be striving for money, you're opposed to it. That's how you are.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been revolutionary, but I won't even call it revolution, but generally just understanding that we've created that this is a manufactured environment. It's not the real world. No matter what they try and tell you, it's not the real world. It's been around for a bit, but nowhere near as long as the actual real world.
So who inspires you What's your who inspires you?
Uh,
Or what inspires you?
the one thing I've always said, like, is I never understand nowadays, especially more than anything, is this need that people have to be motivated and inspired by others. I said, but to be honest, nobody motivates me or inspires me. What motivates me is the fact that I have one life to live. Okay, one day I will be old, I will be gone, and once I'm gone, there will not be another recreation, as far as I know anyway, of Klaus. That's it. This is my time on this earth. And it was by sheer coincidence and miracle that I came into existence, you know? And you're not guaranteed to live. I wasn't guaranteed to get to this age, you know? So everything is almost a chance. So you're here for this almost a blink of an eye, you know, and what are you going to do? Yeah. So yes, the fact that I have one life to live always motivated me. And the Black Vikings, the idea of building, of creating something that lives after I went. Because remember, because I can't have children, I thought, okay, I can't birth them like that, but I can leave something behind for, you know, like I'll say others, you know, for the other, not my own children, but other children, you know, so it's the idea of that.
Do you think you will ever be able to reach the 7 sagas and call yourself a Black Viking?
I doubt it, to be honest. It's, some sagas require, unfortunately, because the world which we live in, you know, like some sagas require money, you know, a lot of it. And so unless I adapt it and change it, which most likely if I get close to them, then I probably will. But for example, like once the Promethean Saga, I have to climb Mount Elbrus, I have to climb Kilimanjaro, and I have to climb Everest. Now, to climb Everest is about, last I checked, about 60 grand. So that's the thing. But
why does it cost that much? What does it?
Because there is no equipment, guides. Had I set these sagas, I don't know, 200-300 years ago, or maybe even less than that, like I could get away with just walking up there, just winging it, you know. I mean, I don't know. I might even give that a try, but obviously there's risks associated with that.
What's the risks?
You die. You know, but
yeah. So how many sagas have we said now? We've said
I've done, so basically that I've done fully completed the Death March, the Raid. Yeah, that's it, fully completed. The Lone Saga, I've done 1 attempt. The Boneless Saga, I've done 1 attempt, and then after that I have.
So let's go through the 7 in the sense what they are.
Okay.
So the first saga is
the Death March,
and that's
the carrying, the sandbag, heavier sandbag, and then the crucifix. The second one is the Boneless, where basically I had your legs are bound, and you're outside dragging by upper body alone, dragging a 25 kilo plate for 180 meters. Then the third is the Raid. That's rowing from London to Greenland. Then the fourth is the Lone Saga, which is basically first attempt 5 days fasted in Scotland, in the wilderness by yourself, no phone, no communication with the outside world, no distraction, completely alone. Then the second one is 2 weeks, and then the third one is 3 months. And then after the Lone Saga is the Suffer Saga. No, the Promethean Saga. The Promethean Saga, which is climb Elbrus in Georgia, Russia, Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, I believe, and then Everest. Then
how so do you know the journey, how many meters high it is?
Elbrus depends on I think on the west face is about just over 5,000 meters. Kilimanjaro, I'm not too sure. Everest, I think, is a little higher than that. Then after that we got the Suffer Saga. Suffer basically is to suffer for 1,000 hours, not continuous, but to just knock it off. Suffer for 1,000 hours for the benefit of others, so for like a charity or anything. So it could generally, what I wanted to do, if I could get my body working again, was to pursue like marathons. So running, you know, any kind of, I've thought about there's like a race in Mongolia across a frozen lake, which is like 100 miles. So I was thinking to pursue stuff like that, running. So that's why I've been trying to get my weight down, which is, I mean, now I'm...
How's your recovery?
Good. It's just, the problem is it's accumulative injuries. You know, like my body has sustained so much trauma in the past 9 years. And it's just like the last one, just kind of like, and I mean, I can't complain. I can move, I can do things. But like, I was run over by a car, and so this hip is kind of messed up.
While you was riding a bike?
Yeah. And then I gave myself a concussion with a 8-kilo ball of steel. This finger was crushed.
On camera, I remember there was one time where I was about 100 meters away. Like I wasn't as close, but two guys approached you and you couldn't hear the dialogue. And they were about to attack you, I guess. But the way you just gave them the element of surprise, basically you just did like a spinning head kick, if that's the right word, and they just moved back. But obviously, it's two guys against one guy. It's not the easiest fights, but it stopped anyway. Everyone broke it up. Yeah, but that's the kind of stories like I hear, like the Tyree story as well. When you told us that storyline is just the way you tell stories.
You know, I think about it recently. I thought about it recently because, like, you know, when I met him, it was my cousin. Well, I say cousin, obviously. You know, like I say cousin, like we Eritreans say cousin, not literally my cousin, but yeah, from Italy, and his name was Jonathan. You know, but it was three of us. You know, me, him, and Tyrese. And this was Tyrese when, bro, like we're talking like, you remember when the advert on the bus? Yeah. Always those times, that Tyrese I'm talking about. And basically he lived here. And we hung out with him in Tottenham Court Road. And he was like saying, that he was going to the US. He had family here, but he's going to the US. He's doing a show for Vivian Westwood. And we exchanged numbers. Yeah, we're going to meet up and stuff. And then obviously he moved over there. And my cousin, who funny enough, by some weird coincidence, Jonathan, good-looking Eritrean brother, good-looking guy got run over in Italy, and he died. So he died he must have been 18, 19. But before that, he became a male model for Vivian Westwood, So the same with Tyrese. Tyrese is signed to Vivian Westwood. And then this guy, and that happened to him, and he died, and then Tyrese went, and it was just like, I don't know, that hit me, and I always think back to him, I can't remember exactly when he died, because when he died, my mom called me, I was at university, and so I don't remember. But the thing is my mom called, so I remember that he died in the summer. So generally around from July to August, I basically think about him all the time, but generally also throughout the year. So, and then in March, this month, is obviously for me, it's Tedros. March, April, I think about him a lot because, I had love for Tedros, but, and obviously 2003, he's been dead 17 years. It's crazy, man, but, so so think about him, so obviously from around now until August, generally I think about this, this scenario a lot. But it's just, it is what it is, man.
So okay. Let's talk about the life in general, not what is life to you, but what is that process of not even life after death, but the whole, you know, you mentioned like us having abundance, like where we live right now, we have abundance. There's no suffering.
I mean, the one thing I would say is, for example, you know, like, you know, back in the day, and the thing is, people always like wonder why, like, for example, to touch on Tedros, you know, obviously he had depression and stuff, you know, and I've suffered from depression for, I mean, the longest, on and off throughout my life, but the longest period was probably 3 years. And when I say depression, I'm not talking like, oh, I feel a little bit sad, you know, like, I'm talking can't leave my house, lights are off in my flat, I don't want to look in the mirror, I don't want to function, you know, and not through lack of trying, you know, but I would have even killed myself. I tried, you know, but, and the thing is, and people will tell you that obviously there's something wrong with you. People always tell you there's something wrong with you, that you feel like this. But it's nothing could be further from the truth. Because really it's not that there's something wrong with you, it's that you recognize that there's something wrong with the world. Something is wrong and you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite function within it as well as everyone else does. You know, but the thing is, if you think about, let's think about depression, let's think about anxiety, let's think about all these things within this kind of society. Meaning right now, my brother, you and me, both, and everyone else, have been stripped of your claws. You have no claws. You have no fangs. You know, you have no skills. You cannot function within the natural world. You can't go hunt for yourself. You can't even, if you are cut, you can heal yourself. In most cases, most people can't defend themselves. They need the police to take care of their battles. They need the army to fight their wars abroad. So generally, the society, the system does everything for you in exchange for your full obedience. Okay? You submit to me every day, you know, go to work, and I will take care of everything else. That's what the system says. Whether people realize it or not, that's the agreement that everyone has made with the society at large, with the system. And the problem with that is that once all these needs are taken care of, well then where's your mind go? You know? Like back in the day, you have to understand, just you having to find food, you know, defend, wage wars, you know, like procure power, defend from power, all that stuff would have taken so much out of you that it would have been impossible for you to be depressed, because that is, you're fulfilling a basic need. But as soon as somebody fulfills that need for you, then it's the same reason that if you take an orca, you know, or any animal from the wild and you put them in captivity, yes, you lengthen their life, you do massively, but what happens to the body? But the animals just walk around in a circle. The orcas, their tails flip over, you know, like longevity, just because the life is longer, does not mean that it's better, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
is that why you do these sagas as well? To kind of do you not expect, but do you think people can actually withstand your sagas? Do you reckon they can actually do them? Is it possible for them to do?
Of course, anything, most things are possible. But the thing is, it's not even about whether it's possible or not. It's the desire. The desire, to be honest, it's not there. Because if you see what is prevalent in society, what is prevalent is anything that makes things easy makes money. Anything that is difficult does not make money. So meaning, you know, and just look at anything that is easy and convenient, and that's what business is. Yeah. Business is, if you want to make a business, make something that makes somebody's life easier, quicker, and you'll make money. Yeah. But because all that stuff tries to do is to make obsolete things that are harder. So that's why, for example, I don't know, before you had to get up and actually change the thermostat, you know, to adapt the temperature in your room. Yeah. Now, no, too far to walk. Let's put it all on the phone. Yeah. You know, and that's the point. And that's taken to but that's what's happening to an extreme on all things. Meaning, for example, I haven't got time to chop my own onions. No problem. Ready chopped onions, ready boiled eggs, and that's everything is happening across everything, across all, and people don't realize it. But if you look at it, it looks harmless. People think, well, it's saving me time. Yes, it is harmless. If you look at things as they are now, yes. But if you look at things don't look at things like what it is now. Look at it. This is what it is now. What could that idea, what could that thought grow to be? Do you understand what I mean?
Is that similar to the Lone Saga? Is that what you can you say the Lone Saga is quite similar to that, being alone in nature, in the wild? Is that
because you know, when we're in this world, everyone within, you know, I mean, also it's my weakness. All the sagas are my weakness, but basically, like, I would say, you know, like I used to complain, especially during my depression, that I'm alone, you know, like, and generally, like, and I know, this is hard, but like, for example, I haven't been with a woman for a long time, very long time, like really stupid long time, and it hurts, you know, like it hurts. And I'm not talking about the sex thing, but it's just more
relationship. Yeah,
because, bro, and I'm not the most, you know, like affectionate or like the most, you know, like, oh, I need people, I need a hug. I'm like probably the most antisocial dude. But even me, like, there are times when I need it, I crave it, and I don't want to. Like, I really don't want to. But I can't, it's in my nature, it's in my DNA. You know, like I can feel my body fighting with my mind, you know, to crave, to grab at something, you know. And I think the whole point of that is that in our connections, we kind of like, you know, like, how can I put it? Like, we validate our existence. Like, I see you. That's what it is. I see you. You see me. And that is a powerful thing.
How do you get through depression?
By
some people use faith, some people use self-belief. Yeah. How did you get through depression? What's the
essentially
you have to way?
You have to find you have to create meaning. You know, like when I say meaning, you have to create a rudder, and meaning something to live by. You know, and the thing is, sometimes you can create it, but even then, that might not be it. Meaning, for example, some guys, you know, like kids, generally, having children, that should be the rudder. That should be meaning, you know, to avoid depression. But people can have children now and, you know, give them up and not really concerned. So that is in a way. So you have to people have to find a rudder of their own creation, not one that is thrown onto them. Meaning the same way that if, you know, you can't go through life and then society, as soon as you come of age, society gives you, you know, career. Okay, your meaning of existence is you've got to follow your career, make money, you know, grow richer, find a woman, you know, get married, have children. That's what society tells you. Now, if you agree by it, that's fine. Everything works out. If you don't agree by it, and there are, you know, like, generally, for example, if you look at homeless people, you know, drunks on the street, not all, but some, you know, like you've got rebels within society that won't adapt to its, and generally it's those. But so I think you have to find what if you can abide by it. If you can't, then you need to create one that you can live by it. And if you can't, well, then really your only option is that, you know, the suicide. But you can't live in a state of perpetual suffering without meaning. It is horrible. It's like, I mean, it's torture essentially, but it's torture the worst, because it's not even physical torture. Physical torture you can deal with, but this is like just, you know, mashing at your organs, at your soul. Like, it's unbearable. You need to, if anybody suffers from that, they need to really reevaluate everything.
I mean, you going through that, going through depression, and the whole suffering, using the sagas as a way of release, as well as.
But this is the thing. When I was in the depression, like I was together with this most amazing woman, amazing woman for 7 years, and then it broke up. We broke up, and it just tore me up basically. But basically, what it also did, it exposed other things that were underneath the surface. Also, that was at the time that I was just run over by a car. I lost my job, so just a whole bunch of stuff, and I just went into this dark hole, and I was there for 3 years, you know, and the only way, yeah,
okay,
yeah, and that was the height of the worm, you know, and the only way that I could come out from that.
What is the worm? What is the worm?
Basically, it's just, you know, like it is what I considered myself prior, you know, to the sagas, prior to Black Vikings. It's just like, you know, everything that is, all the weakness, all the insecurities, all the things that I carried, all my sins that I carried from my childhood, you know, that I took with me into adulthood, that I wasn't able to address, you know. And but the only way I could overcome all of that is I had to, almost like an author would do, you know, like a writer, I had to basically change it. I created a narrative. It's almost like I sat there, I sat there and I wrote a book. I started writing a book when I was in that flat, locked in my flat for free. I started writing a book, not physically, but like within myself. And I recreated it, I rebranded everything, and I gave myself the name Fisaha, you know, which is up there.
Okay.
And it's an acronym. It's an anagram, it's an anagram for the hand of Ra hovers above lost lambs. So Ra meaning the sun.
Yeah.
So the sun hovers above lost lambs. So whenever you're lost, like I was then, as long as the sun is above you, then you still have a chance, you know. So basically, I created that. I said, okay, I'm going to establish the sagas, something to keep me occupied, to address my weaknesses, and I said, okay, you know, like. For a long time, I tried to pursue, you know, I wanted to get money, because society told me, you know, get money, you know, once you get money, women will like you, you know, when women like you, then you can have children, then you can. But when I realized that isn't for me, well then, you know, I was like, that almost, it freed me up to consider, you know, like, that maybe, okay, if that isn't for me, then, and what is it, what do I have available to me? If what I have available is struggle, then okay, then I'll take that. This is what you give me. You've taken luxuries, you've taken wealth, you've taken relationship, beautiful women, all that shit has been taken out, it's not there. And what I have left is struggle. Fine, I will take struggle. And I was like, okay, from now on, I will pursue struggle through everything. So when I went to work, so I would walk everywhere. When I went to work, I would always opt for the harder task. They told me, oh, Klaus, we need to take this to there. The lift is there. I don't need the lift. I'll walk. And I walked. And everything, I tried to find a harder way of doing everything. You know, people trained in the gym. I said, no, I'm going to carry all my equipment. I'm going to walk 15 minutes through the streets, take it to Shoreditch Park, and I'm going to train there, no matter the weather. If it's sunny, I will train. But if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's freezing, I'm definitely training. And I will go there in the middle of the snow, and there are videos, me in the middle of the snow, training, bare-chested. And people will walk over. I was like, are you not cold? I was like, of course I'm cold. And it was, but why don't you put your top on? I was like, because glory is reserved for those who seek discomfort. If you want something greater, if you want true glory, glory can only be grasped from the clutches of death, meaning you've got to be as close as possible to real. When do you know you're alive? Really, like, how do you know? When do you really appreciate life? As soon as your body recognizes that it's close to stress, to death, to anything like this, it clings to life, and only then can you really appreciate it for what it is. But unless, otherwise, people just can't. You live in a numb state of non-existence. So really, it's venturing as close as you can to death that makes you appreciate life.
But aren't you killing yourself in a way? Aren't you taking a bit of you every time you...
Life. But the thing is, bro, we come into life. Life is slowly killing you. I mean, you're not slowly killing yourself. Even if you did nothing, life is slowly killing you.
Yeah.
I was like, so it doesn't matter, does it?
No.
When I was in hospital, imagine I was surrounded by some mostly elderly people. The average age was 70. And obviously I'm there for 3 months. You start speaking to them, Some amazing character. There was one woman, I'll always remember her. She's like 92. She was telling me about life in London during the war. It was an amazing person. But yeah, but
she still had a
she had this, yeah. But she suffered a stroke, so obviously some days were good, some days were bad. But yeah, she was nice. She was hard of hearing, but I could get on some days I could get a good conversation out of her. But the point is, like, when I was in this hospital, I got speaking to these people, and the stories I told. Well, to be honest, most people lived very average life, not pursuing any kind of like struggle or anything is as lofty and crazy as me. They're just literally living their life, and they ended up in hospital. And I went and I did my crazy shit, and I ended up in hospital right next to them. I was like, no matter what I took away from that is, no matter what you do, you're gonna end up in hospital. Like, if the idea of healthy is ridiculous. And I took that out.
Do you think it's the way your mind is set?
I think everything is
going rather than.
I think everything changed when I came out of there, because those conversations and just looking at the world, it's just everything changed. Like, I made a lot of changes in my life after the hospital. Everything changed in the sense that, I had this. There was an agenda that I would say I was pushing out. Not selling, because I never really tried to sell anything, but that I would propagate, that I would push forward, and about health and stuff, and just to be honest, like, the idea of health, as well as other things, it just seems ridiculous to me now, because obviously it's like, what is health? Like, healthy, I mean, you come into existence, and as soon as you enter, you're dying. It's just very slowly, very, very slowly, but you're dying. And that's if you get to live a whole life. So I was like, that can't be, it's a lofty ideal, that people chase, like, and you see it on Instagram, like, oh, health is the new wealth and all this shit. And there's all this stuff on Instagram that I see. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I literally, like, I've started unfollowing everyone. And to be honest, ideally, what I wanted was for everyone to unfollow me. And
Why is that? Why did you want that?
Because I don't care anymore. That's the thing. I really don't care. Yeah. What I really want at the moment is I want to keep that page because of what I've achieved. Primarily, I want my niece and my nephew to look at it. Like, one day when they're older, I don't know if I'm going to be here or not, and I want them to have if Instagram is still functioning then, but for them to have a look at it and see who I was, what I stood for, everything. But then also I take, I don't know, like...
Do you want a following, people that, not in the sense of Klaus, but in the sense of the mind frame or the mindset of the Black Viking, the way the Black Viking is set out? Do you want people to actually go through that? What I
would love, my ideal thing would be is somebody younger, stronger, physically and mentally than me could come along, see what I've done, created, take it on, and build it into what it was. If I could go back and just be younger and start and lead it, I would. I don't have it, my mind is not what it was before, I physically, I could even overcome that, but it's just I'm not there. But if somebody could take it on and build it, but I would never want it to be like a money orientated thing. I wouldn't want it to turn into like a fitness first, a Virgin Active, into lose. I'm talking like
you do a lot of charity work. Like a lot comes from it as well. It doesn't have to be money wise, but there is if it goes to charity, if the money goes to charity, if people are, I'm sure there's people that are in a disability type of way that they can't do these sagas. I'm sure there's a way we can contribute.
Yeah, but the Black Viking, what the ultimate aim of Black Vikings was? The ultimate aim was sacred ground. Okay? Sacred ground was the idea that somehow through Black Vikings, I would have made enough money to basically buy 1,000 acres, as many acres as I could of land. Build, I'm not talking build houses and stuff, not many, maybe a maximum of 200, and basically to set out an alternative way of living to what the system is. And the sagas will be established as a rite of passage, meaning for children born within the commune, the sacred ground, when they came of age, you would pursue the sagas from the age of early teenagers, and then you enter manhood, and the whole point was, it's just
a way of life.
Yeah, but exactly. I don't, and that's what gyms don't offer. That gyms want to change your body. I don't want to change your body. I want to change your experience of life. I want to change all of that, and obviously, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not, because as much as we've agreed that people are enslaved, there are none are more enslaved than those who do not know they are not free. Those are the worst slaves. It's been difficult, but generally, so that my ideal thing would be, somebody comes, sees Black Vikings and to build it within that direction. Meaning, I don't really mind the direction as long as it's not system, money driven, that kind of thing, where it's something just to free, as an opposite to what the system is offering. As long as it's that, I'm good with it.
So how should they contact you? How can they get to you and say to you, I want to become a Black Viking, I think I can do it?
It's not easy to contact me now. Well, if they don't follow me on Instagram, they probably have to find me in the real world. Yeah, I'm not going to put my number on there. I've learned that from the past. You remember when I did that track?
When you put your number down?
I put my number down. You know how many calls I received? For years. I had to get rid of that number.
Okay. We don't have to we can put your social media up and they can.
Yeah. At the moment, all I have really is Instagram.
Is there a place where they can come and is that it's too much information, or is there a place where they can come and say to you, I want to become a Black Viking?
But all right, first of all, I will tell you one thing. Somebody asked me, I've had so many people ask me, oh yeah, how do I become a Black Viking? Yeah. And I always reply to them one thing. And I say to them, take a cold bath every single day for 3 months and then contact me again and say the same thing.
I'm sure they can't get through even...
Well, generally, to be honest, nobody comes back after I say that. But the whole point is, if you can last 3 months of cold baths, and I did that for 4 years, if you can last 3 months, then we can discuss other things. But if you can't even, if you're shocked by that...
Do they have to document it? What do they have to do to...
No, I'm not going to ask you to document it, because if you lie, you're not lying to me. You're lying to yourself. I was like, fine. But I mean, if you lie to yourself, then it is only going to get harder then. Because if you find it hard to have a cold bath for 3 months every single day, well then, it's going to get a lot harder than that. Like.
And would you help if, let's say, someone does get through that and says and comes to you and says to you, is that now a master and apprentice type of?
I wouldn't even say that. I would say like just two people speaking. I will guide them, in their journey through the sagas, and and generally it's more conversations, like this, because like I said before, everything is about opinions. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. My opinion is no more valid than yours, and your opinion is no more valid than mine. I don't know. Like I believe what I believe based on a unique, certain amount of events that occurred in a particular way throughout my life, which have adapted my worldview to accept these opinions as beliefs. You have your own. I can't tell you yours are wrong because I don't know what unique set of circumstances led to the worldview that created your opinions, which led to beliefs. So in that sense, I can't say I'm right and you're wrong, no more than, you could say the same to me. So in that scenario, if somebody wanted to become a Black Vikings, I would have a conversation with them as to what I personally believe. But I mean, I'm not here to tell them this is the truth. This is my truth, which has worked for me, which is what I created. And if you buy into it, you're more than welcome. But like I said, nobody knows shit. It's just opinions.
Yeah. And with that as well, the whole argument of what a Black Viking is there such thing of a Black Viking? Was there a Black Viking? What is the definition of a Black Viking?
Well, the thing is, there's so many angles to this.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start with the funniest one, which is the racists. The amount of race. When I first came up with the name, I didn't even come up with the name. Somebody called me a Black Viking, because obviously, I don't know, I've got axes on my walls. My name is Klaus. My surname is quite Germanic, Yohannes. So I don't know. I train outside in the cold, bare chested. So I got tattoos. I don't know. They were like, yeah, you're like a Black Viking. And generally, to be honest, I liked the name because it was like an oxymoron for me. It was like two words you really don't expect to see, side by side, So I was like, so I'd say, yeah, I've put my first handle on Instagram was like Fisaha, the Black Viking, which was there was actually a Fisaha, the Black Viking, but I'm not going to get sidetracked this time. I'm going to stick to this train of thought. Yeah. So anyway, so I changed it to that, and so I changed my handle Fisaha, the Black Viking, and as soon as I did that, straight away, all these like, I don't know, people, like I would say, basically white, Swedish, Denmark, like sometimes just English, white people just started messing me. There was never Black Vikings, never this, never that. Like, at the time, I was trying to be like, I don't want to get into that discussion, so I just kind of ignored them. But, I mean, looking back now, it's like, why? Are you a Black Viking? Are you a Viking? I was like, first of all, the term Viking, if you really examine it, do you want me to go further with this? Because if I go down this route, it could take 2, 3, 4 minutes, maybe 5.
It's yours. The platform is yours.
All right. So if we look at the term Viking, it is not. It's not a race. It is not a caste. It is not an ethnic group. Viking, basically, if you translated it, would mean pirate. That's what it was. Actually a profession. So, meaning, Viking, it wasn't like, if you look back to the time of the Vikings, Viking wasn't every single white guy in Scandinavia or no, it was only those Norsemen which actually went onto boats and went pillaging. The ones that stayed behind weren't Viking. But over time, the term Viking was spread out across everyone. So anyway, recently what I did, which I thought it was fucking hilarious really, but I put a post up, a picture of four Somalian brothers on a boat with Kalashnikovs like that. And underneath it I wrote Vikings. What? No, I didn't say what, I just put Vikings. Yeah. And yeah, everyone, bro, the uproar, like to this day, the amount of messages.
White people that are like straight far right or.
I wouldn't even say they're far right, but that's the point. It's like, like within the ideas, you've got like obviously the far right, then you've got the far left, and then you have the middle. But the middle, they have tendencies to there. It doesn't mean they're in the middle. Yeah. This is all they think. Sometimes they can tend to think like this. Sometimes they tend to think like that. It crosses over. Yeah. So these people, I wouldn't call them racist, but they definitely had some racist conceptions of different little things. And so like they're like no this, and I was like, how's the difference? I was like, so wait, so some Swedish guy today can claim Viking ancestry by way of just shooting out of someone's dick, basically just sperm, by way of sperm, whereas some guy who's actually a Viking, who's actually a pirate in Somalia, actually doing exactly what Vikings were doing back in the day, but doing it in the modern day, actually physically doing it, he's not a Viking. But you are, because by way of just what? Birth. I was like, no. I was like, that isn't. I was like, when we talk Viking, I'm not saying these people are Norsemen. Norsemen is different. Yeah. Viking is different. Viking is a profession. So if we're talking profession, a Somalian pirate is more of a Viking than some white dude claiming to be Viking just because he came out of some Swedish parents, and he's got a top knot, a beard, and some Viking tattoos. It's like, no, Somalian brother's more of a Viking. And it created just massive arguments. So anyway, but because the name, because it created so much discussion, like people I was like, people read, and some people told me, why call it Black Viking? Why don't just call it Viking? I was like, why should I call it Viking? Because the color doesn't matter. I was like, well, if color doesn't matter, then I'm going to call it Black Viking. You said it yourself, color doesn't matter. So basically, color doesn't matter unless I call it Black Viking. Then it does matter. I was like, no. So when these people reacted like that to the word black, I was like, no. Well, then that tells me this is the name. Because the whole point of Black Viking was to provoke change, provoke reactions. Yeah.
And you're getting.
It's done that. I've had people, even when I was doing the crucifixion, I had people telling me, I had the Irish people all along the embankment, like loving me, giving me so much love. Then I had some.
What are they saying to you?
Jesus loves you, Irish people are very, very, very religious people, But then I had like people shouting from their cars, wine car, I had people going, why would you do?
All this is motivating, keeping you going.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I was like, it really. I was like, it doesn't matter, whatever you do. Like, you cuss me, you love me. I was like, regardless, I go about my way. The same thing that I've done with Instagram. I've been building, training, creating my shit for years. Some people love me, some people hate me. I was like, whether you love me or you hate me, it's irrelevant. I will go on my mission. That is my way. I was like, I'm not here. Like, there's a lot of people, nobody likes my stuff on Instagram. I could give a fuck. You don't like my shit, I don't care. I was like, if you look on my Instagram page from back in the day, the amount of views was ridiculous. The amount of likes, pathetic. Which I was like, so basically people love to watch, but hate to just push that like button. So I was like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I was like, if I get you coming back to look at my shit, but refuse to like it, well then I've done more than made you like it. I've imprinted my identity in your soul. That you need to keep coming back to me like my name was Crack. I was like, come on, man. So yeah, But yeah, so
But anyone can be a Black Viking, right? It's not about, for you. It's not really actually. It's not about race. It's
no, it's not about race. I mean, Black Viking, black could be so much, you know. Like, I mean, black obviously. When I wrote it, when I created it, it was partly because I just loved the idea of the oxymoron of black and Viking, white and black, you know. And but I mean, black could also be talked about as in, you know, the darkness of man's souls, you know. Like, I mean, you create whatever narrative needs to work to support your way of thinking, but essentially it's a name, you know. Like, it doesn't mean shit. I was like, if you need to do it under a banner, do it, but really, just if you don't want to accept the name, fine, just do everything Black Viking says and just don't put the name, you know. But it's just a name, that's all it is.
So people actually, to become Black Viking, they have to go through that the cold baths, you know, the cold showers, 30 days, 40 days.
I say 3 months.
3 months.
3 months, every day for 3 months, you know, and that's the beginning. And then start pursuing the sagas. I would suggest at least, well, to make it easier for you to pursue the sagas, at least 1 day a week, train, which is what I did, train outside.
And every saga they accomplish, they get it's not, obviously there's not the every saga they complete, they get some sort of badge or some sort of...
The badges have been designed, but remember, each saga has 3 attempts. So once you've done all 3, you get a badge, which I will sign at the back, and then you can do what you want. You know, you can have it. I can't print them. I don't have the facility, you know, the money to do so. But I can send it to you. You can print it and sew it onto your thing. Personally, I'm tattooing them on my back. So I'm getting the logo tattooed here next week.
Surely there should be some sort of, not, I wouldn't say school, but surely there should be, if you're doing a saga, then what's the next saga you're doing now?
I'm still doing the Lone Saga.
The Lone Saga?
Yeah, so in April, go for 2 weeks.
So wouldn't you want what's the word? Not a clan, but a number of people that want to do it?
Well, you know, like, you gotta understand.
With the Lone Saga, it's totally different.
With the Lone Saga, be alone, you know, that's the whole point of it. But, you know, like, I've tried to do this for 4 years, okay? 4 years, I've sought, I can't explain, when I tell you I've tried to gather a group of people. So much so that for 4 years, every Sunday, I advertised and told people that I would train them for free for 4 years. Every single day, you come to me on a Sunday for 4 years and I will train you for free. All I ask is that you help me carry the equipment from my place, Shoreditch Park. We train and then we bring it back and you don't pay me a penny. And bro, a handful of people came. And out of the handful that came, a handful remained. You know? So many, like, and I realize you can't...
What is it?
I'm going to tell you, the training wasn't easy. You know, like, generally what we would do, we'll carry the equipment to the park, we train for 2 hours, and then we bring it back. So the whole thing could last 4 hours, you know. But, I mean, if it was me, like, personally, 4 hours, you're not paying a penny, and you get to train with, like, some sick equipment. I was like, but obviously people, not everyone is the same.
So how do they contact you? How's the way of, like, if they want to become a Black Viking, how do they contact you?
On the 1st of every month, to meet me in Shoreditch Park. There's a sandpit. Meet me there from between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m.
But they have to go through the showers, the cold baths.
First thing they need to do is cold baths every day for 3 months. Once they've completed that and they still want to do it, that's another way to contact me, is be in Shoreditch Park and I'll be there. I'll wait because that's my route anyway to pass. So I'll be there, but I'll wait for anybody between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the 1st of every month.
I don't need a coach. I don't need advice.
Okay, all right, good talk, folks. Thanks.